Episode 27, Echoes of the Past. Alex stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her Holborn flat, watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settled over London. 3 days had passed since Victoria's arrest. 3 days of relative quiet that should have brought relief, but instead left her feeling hollowed out, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Behind her, Marcus moved through the kitchen, the familiar sounds of him making dinner. The clink of wine glasses, the sizzle of something in a pan, grounding her in the present moment. They'd barely been apart since Friday, as though proximity could ward off whatever darkness might still be lurking. "You're doing it again," Marcus said softly, appearing at her shoulder with 2 glasses of Merlot. Alex accepted the wine, leaning back against his chest as his free arm wrapped around her waist. "Doing what?" "Waiting for the attack, looking for threats in every shadow." "Can you blame me?" She took a long sip, the wine warming her from the inside. 6 years of planning doesn't just end with one conversation and a surrender. Victoria was too meticulous, too patient. Marcus pressed a kiss to her temple. Detective Okonkwo confirmed Victoria deleted everything. The automated system is disabled. Her flat's been searched. No hidden drives, no backup plans. It's over, Alex. Then why does it feel like I'm missing something? Her phone buzzed on the windowsill. Sophie's name flashed across the screen. "Dinner tomorrow night? Need to talk about something." "Just us 3? Alex's stomach tightened. Sophie's gambling debt. The revelation that had been overshadowed by Victoria's arrest but hadn't disappeared. £47,000. 4 months of recovery meetings that Sophie had attended alone, too ashamed to tell even Natasha until Victoria's files forced the truth into the open. "Of course," Alex typed back. "My place? 7 p.m.? The reply came immediately. "Perfect. Thank you." "Sophie?" Marcus asked, reading her expression. Alex nodded. "She wants to talk tomorrow. About the gambling, I assume. That's good, isn't it? That she's ready to discuss it?" "I hope so." Alex turned in his arms, studying his face. The exhaustion had faded from around his eyes over the past 3 days, replaced by something lighter. Almost peaceful. "How are you doing? Really?" Marcus considered the question, his thumb tracing idle patterns on her hip. "Honestly, I keep expecting Victoria to appear with new evidence about Claire Morrison, or another dead woman I supposedly murdered. It's hard to believe that part of my life is actually in the past." "The charges were dismissed. Police Scotland confirmed you were in London during the entire week Claire died. Your surgical records proved it." "I know. Intellectually, I know." He took a drink of wine. "But 6 years ago, I held that baby. For 20 minutes, I was someone's father. And then I wasn't. And then Claire died, and Victoria tried to convince you I killed her. The whole thing feels surreal." Alex reached up, cupping his face. "Claire's death was tragic, but it wasn't your fault, and you didn't kill her. Whoever cut her brake lines, if anyone actually did, it wasn't you." "Victoria fabricated the evidence," Marcus said, but his voice held a question. Detective Okonkwo confirmed it. The CCTV footage was doctored. The witness statements were paid for. The threatening emails supposedly from you were sent from an IP address traced back to Victoria's old flat in Rotherhithe. Alex pressed her forehead to his. "She was thorough, I'll give her that. But it was all lies, Marcus. All of it." His arms tightened around her. "I love you," he said quietly. "I need you to know that. Through all of this. Emma, Rebecca, Sienna, Victoria, you've been the one constant thing I could hold on to. Even when you doubted me." "I never doubted you," Alex protested, but Marcus shook his head. "You did. For a moment, when Victoria sent that evidence. I saw it in your eyes." He wasn't accusatory, just stating fact. "And I don't blame you. After everything you'd been through, how could you not question it?" Alex set down her wine glass, both hands coming up to frame his face. "I'm sorry. I should have trusted you immediately." "You trusted me when it mattered." Marcus kissed her softly. "That's what counts." The kiss deepened, wine sweet and familiar. Alex felt the tension that had been coiled in her chest for days begin to unwind as Marcus's hands slid down her back, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing harder, his eyes had darkened with desire. "Dinner can wait," he murmured against her lips. "Can it?" Alex smiled, already knowing the answer as he guided her toward the bedroom. "Definitely." Later, tangled in sheets with Marcus's heartbeat steady beneath her ear, Alex felt something close to peace. His fingers traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder, her leg draped over his hip, their bodies still pressed together in the aftermath. "What are you thinking?" Marcus asked, his voice rough with satisfaction. "That I should let myself have this, have you, without constantly waiting for it to be taken away. You should." He tilted her chin up, meeting her eyes. "I'm not going anywhere, Alex, no matter what comes next. Promise?" "Promise." They made love again, slower this time, savoring each touch and kiss. Marcus moved above her with careful deliberation, watching her face as he entered her, the connection between them both physical and something deeper. When they finally tumbled over the edge together, Alex felt tears slip down her temples, not from sadness but from the overwhelming relief of being safe, being loved, being here. Afterward, Marcus pulled her close, pressing kisses to her damp forehead. "I love you," he whispered. "Whatever happens tomorrow or next week or next year, I love you." "I love you too," Alex breathed, and for the first time in weeks, she let herself believe it might actually be enough. Tuesday evening arrived with unseasonable warmth, the kind of late spring weather that made Londoners shed their layers and pretend summer had already arrived. Alex had spent the day at Chambers, catching up on case files and trying to rebuild the professional reputation Victoria's viral video had damaged. The view count had reached 300,000 before Morrison and Blackwood's PR team managed to get it taken down from most platforms, but the damage was done. Potential clients had called to withdraw their cases. Colleagues avoided making eye contact in the halls. Richard Morrison had called her into his office that afternoon, his expression grave. "The partners are meeting Thursday," he'd said without preamble, "to discuss your future at the firm." Alex had felt her stomach drop. "They're voting on whether to keep me. They're voting on whether the firm can weather the reputational damage." Her father's voice had been careful, professional. "The Thornton case is resolved. Jeremy Thornton withdrew his civil suit after Victoria's arrest, but the video made me look like a monster. It made you look ruthless, which you are, Alexandra. It's what makes you brilliant in court." Richard had leaned back in his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 58 years. But it also reminded people of the human cost. Julia Hartwell's suicide, Victoria's 6-year quest for revenge. The firm is questioning whether that cost is too high. "So they're going to let me go?" "I don't know." Her father had met her eyes. "I'm arguing for you to stay. So are Natasha and several others. But there are partners who think a fresh start elsewhere might be better for everyone." Alex had left his office feeling numb, the professional crisis she'd managed to avoid for weeks, finally catching up with her. Now, as she set out wine glasses and waited for Sophie and Natasha to arrive, she wondered if she even wanted to stay at Morrison and Blackwood, if she wanted to continue being the kind of barrister who destroyed people in cross-examination without considering the aftermath. The doorbell rang at precisely 7 o'clock. Sophie and Natasha stood in the hallway, Sophie holding a bottle of Pinot Grigio and looking nervous. Natasha with her arm protectively around her fiancé's waist. "Come in," Alex said, stepping aside. "Marcus is at the hospital, emergency surgery, so it's just us." "Good," Sophie said quietly. "That's what I wanted." They settled in Alex's living room, the city lights glittering beyond the windows. Alex poured wine while Sophie gathered her courage, Natasha's hand clasped tightly in hers. "I need to apologize," Sophie finally said, "for lying to you both, for the gambling, for the debt, for not telling you I was struggling." "You don't need to apologize to me," Alex said gently. "You're dealing with an addiction. That's not something to be ashamed of." "Isn't it?" Sophie's voice cracked. "I gambled away £47,000, Alex. Money we were saving for the wedding, for our future. I lied to Natasha for 2 years. I told myself I could stop any time, that it wasn't really a problem, that just one more bet would fix everything." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "And then Victoria found out, and I realized how close I came to losing everything that actually matters." Natasha pulled Sophie closer, kissing her temple. "You're not going to lose me. We've talked about this." "I know, but I could have." Sophie turned to Alex. "I need you to know I'm getting help. Real help. I've been attending Gamblers Anonymous for 4 months. I have a sponsor. I've closed all my online casino accounts and given Natasha access to all my financial accounts so she can monitor everything. That's good, Sophie, Alex said. That takes incredible courage. Does it? Or does it just make me weak for needing that level of control? It makes you human, Natasha said firmly, and it makes you smart for recognizing you need help and accepting it. Sophie wiped her eyes. The wedding is in 3 weeks. I want you there as my maid of honor, Alex, but I need to know you don't think less of me, that you don't see me as some pathetic addict who can't control herself. Alex moved to sit beside Sophie, taking her friend's hand. I see you as someone I love, someone who's fighting a disease, someone brave enough to admit she has a problem and do the hard work of recovery. She squeezed Sophie's fingers. I'm honored to stand beside you at your wedding, and I'm proud of you for getting help. Sophie dissolved into tears, and Alex held her while Natasha rubbed her back, the three of them forming a protective circle in the gathering darkness. When Sophie finally composed herself, she managed a watery smile. I'm also terrified the tabloids will find out, that it'll damage Natasha's practice, that people will think she's marrying someone unstable. Let them think what they want, Natasha said fiercely. I love you, all of you, including the parts that are struggling. We're in this together. Victoria could have released those files, Sophie whispered. She could have destroyed everything. But she didn't, Alex said. She chose differently in the end. They talked for another hour, Sophie sharing more about her recovery journey and the triggers that had led to her gambling in the first place. Stress from work, pressure to be perfect, the thrill of risk-taking that temporarily drowned out anxiety. Alex listened, offering support and asking gentle questions, while Natasha provided steady reassurance. As they were leaving, Sophie hugged Alex tightly. Thank you, she murmured, for not judging me, for still being my friend. Always, Alex promised. After they left, Alex stood at her windows again, watching the city. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus saying surgery had gone well and he'd be home in an hour. Another from Richard saying the partnership meeting had been moved up to Wednesday afternoon. And then, as Alex was about to set down her phone, a new message appeared from an unknown number. You think it's over. You think Victoria was the end of it. But you're wrong, Alexandra. You've always been wrong about who your real enemies are. Check your email. The past has a way of catching up with us all. Alex's blood turned to ice. With shaking hands, she opened her email app. At the top of her inbox sat a message with no subject line. Sent from an encrypted address. She clicked it open. Inside was a single photograph, decades old and slightly faded. It showed two young women, perhaps in their early 20s, standing outside what looked like a courthouse. They had their arms around each other, smiling at the camera. One of the women Alex recognized immediately, a much younger version of Julia Hartwell, Victoria's mother. The other woman took Alex several seconds to place, and when she did, her phone nearly slipped from her nerveless fingers. It was Catherine Morrison, Alex's mother. The woman who had died when Alex was 8 years old, who Alex barely remembered, whose photographs Richard kept locked away in his study. Below the photograph was a single line of text. They were best friends once, before your mother betrayed mine, before everything fell apart. This was never just about the malpractice case, Alexandra. This was always about family, and you have no idea what's really coming. Alex stared at the screen, her mind reeling. Her mother and Julia Hartwell had been friends? Before Alex was born? Before the malpractice case that had destroyed the Hartwell family? She immediately called Detective Okonkwo, but the call went to voicemail. Then Richard, who didn't answer. Then Marcus, who was still in surgery. Another message arrived. Victoria was just the beginning, the anger of a grieving daughter. But there are others who remember what your mother did, others who have waited much longer for justice. Sleep well, Alexandra. Tomorrow, you'll start to understand just how deep this goes. Alex's hands trembled as she screenshot the messages and forwarded them to Detective Okonkwo's email. Then she pulled up her father's contact information and typed out an urgent message. We need to talk about Mum, about Julia Hartwell, about what happened before I was born. Call me as soon as you get this. She paced her flat, unable to sit still, her mind racing through implications. If her mother and Julia Hartwell had been friends, what had caused the betrayal the anonymous sender mentioned? What did it have to do with the malpractice case 25 years later? And who else was involved in this conspiracy? Victoria's surrender suddenly made horrible sense. She hadn't given up. She'd passed the torch to someone else, someone who had been waiting even longer, someone who knew things about Alex's family that Alex herself didn't know. When Marcus finally arrived home an hour later, he found Alex still pacing, her phone clutched in her white-knuckled grip. "What happened?" he asked immediately, reading her panic. Alex showed him the messages in the photograph. Marcus's expression darkened as he read, his jaw tightening. "We need to call the police," he said. "I already left messages for Detective Okonkwo, and I texted my father, but he hasn't responded. Then we wait for them to call back. Together." Marcus pulled her into his arms. "Whatever this is, we'll face it, like we've faced everything else." But as Alex pressed her face against his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat, she couldn't shake the feeling that this time was different. This wasn't about her legal career or a case she'd won. This was about her family, about secrets buried for decades, about betrayals she didn't understand, about a past she'd never known existed. And somewhere out there, someone was watching. Someone who had waited years, maybe decades, for this moment. Someone who knew exactly how to hurt her by unraveling the carefully constructed narrative of her entire life. Victoria's revenge had been about justice for her mother's death, but this new threat was about something older, deeper, more personal. This was about Alex's mother, about whatever Catherine Morrison had done before she died. And Alex had the sinking feeling that when she finally learned the truth, nothing would ever be the same again.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.